there was a theater known for its amazing all-day variety shows. And so one Saturday, a couple thousand people began packing this theater. And they would be entertained for act after act after act. You know, first some poets, and then some storytellers, then some dramatists and singers. Then they would get into magicians and acrobats and stuntmen, and it would just get more and more intense, and they would cheer louder and louder and louder throughout the day. As the day was nearing its close, the manager of the theater came on stage, and he screamed out to the audience. He said, "There's a fire in the theater. Get out immediately." And no one budged. In fact, they began to cheer of the suspense. He tried again. This time smoke was rising. It's like, "There's a fire, you need to get out of here now." And of course they just began to cheer louder, hypnotized by the drama of it all. Finally he pulls the fire alarm and they just start hooting and hollering. This must be the great climax, the great conclusion. Eventually the fire rips through the theater and engulfs them all. But that was the fate of those who chose to merely spectate. This is just a parable, not a true story, so no worries. But you probably thought there was going to be a punchline to it. No, on this last Sunday, this is the last ordinary Sunday in ordinary time. Next Sunday is the great feast of Jesus Christ, King of the universe. And so we're at the end of our Lord's public ministry. We're about a day or two before his arrest and trial. So for 3 years now, people were following him. And they heard his beautiful stories, the Good Samaritan, the prodigal son. They were inspired by his teaching, the Beatitudes. They saw the great miracles. He walked on water. He fed the 5,000. He was transfigured before them. And so now, here at the end, he makes his final plea. And he comes to them, he's like, the temple is going to be thrown down, stone upon stone. There will be wars, insurrections, famines, plagues, earthquakes. You will be persecuted, handed over. Some of you will even die because of my name. And his piece of advice through it all, at the very end of the gospel, by your perseverance, you will secure your lives. In other words, do not be mere spectators to all I've said and done, but persevere in that, in what lies ahead. I saw a cool shirt the other day, and it had this picture of a three-toed sloth. Awesome creature. But the caption on this t-shirt, it said, "Sloth, the cuddliest of the deadly sins." Sloth. It really is, it's one of the sneakiest of the deadly sins. You think about it, we got pride, envy, and anger, and they're all about an excessive love of oneself. Then we have lust, gluttony, and greed, and they're all about an excessive love of some created good. And right in the middle we have sloth. Sloth is not an excessive love of anything. Sloth is the apathy towards love, the laziness towards loving. And it afflicts, not just the couch potato, but even the workaholic. All those who choose every little passing thing over things that matter eternally. Sloth is a laziness towards eternal things. Things like loving one's family, one's children, one's spouse. Things like prayer and worship. Things like the service or the works of charity. All those things that have eternal consequences. And sloth, it manifests itself in many different ways. Sometimes it manifests itself as a joylessness. I'm lazy in terms of thinking about the good gifts God pours out upon us. Sometimes it manifests itself as a cowardice, a desire. I'm lazy. I don't want to do the incredible things God has pointed me to do. Sometimes it's a procrastination. I'll put off the good things God has asked me to do for some selfish motive. Sometimes it's it does look like a laziness. It's putting off the relationship with God or the relationship with a loved one for some selfish motive. And so is our Lord's encouragement. By your perseverance, you will secure your lives. By your perseverance, your diligence, your zeal. I'm always motivated by what our Lord actually says of the slothful in the book of Revelation. I'm sure you've heard this before. But in the book of Revelation, our Lord, he says, "No, I know your deeds, that you are neither hot nor cold. Oh, how I wish you were either hot or cold. But because you are lukewarm, I will vomit you out of my mouth." How's that for an image? There's the cuddliest of sins right there. But Jesus Christ, he would rather a passionate saint or a passionate sinner than a lukewarm or a slothful. Because he knows the passionate sinners are on the road to passionate sanctity. So I want to offer an image for your prayer this week. Think of it like Christ's proposal. When we come to Mass next Sunday, the beautiful feast of Jesus Christ, King of the universe, the gospel will be taken from the crucifixion. And the last words of the gospel will be, "Today you will be with me in paradise." Now this is the proposal he makes each and every one of us. The question, be with me in paradise? And instead of getting on a knee, he gets up on a cross. Instead of spilling his love through his words, he spills his love from his side. And he says, as he makes this great proposal to us, be with me in paradise. And to say nothing is to say no. And to do nothing is to say no. And so in our prayer this week, we should examine, maybe ask ourselves where this vice of sloth, of this spiritual laziness, of this lukewarmness has taken hold of our lives. Where have I been lazy in my prayer life, in my worship, on my Sundays or holy days, in my love for my family, in my service towards those in need? And then think of some concrete ways how to overcome, how to have perseverance, have diligence, have zeal in our life. What can we do? So that when we come next week on that great feast of Christ the King and he makes that great proposal to us, "Today will you be with me in paradise," we can say yes. We can persevere now, because by perseverance we secure our lives. Because the reality is Jesus Christ, he doesn't want spectators. He wants passionate lovers. Because when it comes to you and me, he chooses not to spectate, but to passionately love.